Hey there folks, and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're watching this video, chances are you might have already seen one of my Thursdoid summaries where I go over everything we've learned from a recent developer blog for Project Zomboid. Now it's fair to say that Build 42 is taking a long time to complete, and of course we don't have a release date just yet. Whilst the devs taking their time with development is not necessarily a bad thing, you'd be forgiven for not having read every single blog post or otherwise not being aware of every single feature headed for release in Build 42. So, in this video, I'll be attempting to bring together everything we currently know about Build 42 all in one place. If you enjoyed the video or learned something you didn't know before, please consider dropping the video a like or subscribing to the channel for more tips, guides, and news videos just like this one. Alright, so first things first, let's start with the elephant in the room, and that's NPCs. Project Zomboid has had a turbulent relationship with NPCs, once upon a time having them in the game during the very early stages, but since their removal, players have been pining for them ever since. Human NPCs are not coming to Build 42. They are planned for Build 43, according to a roadmap published by the devs a little while back, but on the plus side, we can expect animals in Build 42 instead. Now this is no doubt going to provide both the developers and the community vital frameworks for later work. That then begs the question, what purpose will these animals serve, and how will they work? So far, we've seen livestock animals revealed, such as cows, sheep, pigs, and chickens. The intention with these animals will be to provide survivors with an opportunity to house and utilize them for resources like eggs, milk, or meat. With these animals comes various methods of transportation, like trailers, necessary farm equipment for feeding said animals like troughs, and housing like chicken coops for chickens to lay their eggs. Players will be expected to tend to their livestock appropriately, keeping them well fed, watered, and remembering to close up chicken coops to stop Mr. Fox from using the hard-earned livestock for dinner. Other animals outside of those used for livestock have been shown too, such as rats and spiders. We're unsure currently what purpose these animals will serve. It could simply be ambient, or they could pose a potential health risk to unclean safe houses. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds for these pesky critters. Lastly, we know that animals will be coming to Build 42 which can be tracked and hunted by players. Specifics include deer and rabbits so far, but we can expect other animals later down the line, potentially even predators, but again, nothing is written in stone there just yet. The tracking system to locate these animals will be linked to the current investigation system used for foraging. Players can find tracks, dung, or other signs of animal movement through an area, which will feed the player vital intel like direction, animal type, and how long it has been since they were present in the area. Animals will follow set routes that can be learned by players and will flee if the player is detected before they can pounce. A big question that I've often seen asked in my comment section following a blog post is, will zombies attack animals? And the answer might be a tad different to what you'd expect. Now, zombies will not attack animals firstly, but there's two reasons for this given by the developers covered in a blog quite some time ago. Firstly, zombies are driven by the virus to infect other humans. Animals cannot be infected, and thus the zombies are not driven by the virus itself to attack them. Second, and perhaps most prominent, is the various ethical and moral concerns relating to certain cultures. The developers do not see reason to cross that bridge and subject players to animals being ripped apart in front of them. Not to mention, protecting your livestock from zombies would pose a constant problem that would probably be more annoying than it would be meaningful. Moving on from all things animals, we've got several updates on the way regarding the setting of Project Zomboid itself, that being post-apocalyptic Kentucky. Firstly, and biggest of all, is the new map expansion that will primarily occupy the furthest west area of the map. If you've played within the last few months, you might have noticed that the map has been expanded slightly when you open it in-game, although currently nothing is actually drawn in that area. You can currently explore the far west of the map and find areas that are currently under construction for Build 42, including a luxurious riverboat and an unfinished town. To help emphasize the scale of this map expansion we're expecting, the Louisville update brought in 56 new cells to the map. The one planned for Build 42 is a whopping 430 cells. Granted, a considerable amount of this space will be less densely packed than Louisville was, and some of it will just be forest space. That said, some of what we've seen in in past devlogs show off new points of interest that look incredibly cool so far. With the new map expansion, we're also expecting a rework of certain points of interest on the currently available map space too, of which we've seen a couple of teasers in past blog posts as well. On top of the new map areas, significant work is going into aspects of world building for Knox County. For example, we're due to see the implementation of 3 newspaper outlets that will all have news articles out in the world detailing various events during the lead up to and shortly following the outbreak. New vehicles will be coming to the game aimed at telling a bit more of a story, linked to businesses that can be found in-game and containing items that would make sense for that particular type of vehicle. We're expecting to see 6 new TV channels, a new radio station, and 75 new VHS tapes, all of which were written by Pat Bren, the team's writer, that will also be responsible for various story assets once NPCs finally reach the game. So it'll be interesting to see Pat's work as an indication of the quality we can expect from later features. All of these features are essentially aimed at creating a more atmospheric world to survive in, as well as giving us new areas to explore, of course. Last of the new implementations we're expecting for the map and setting itself is one of the most anticipated features for Build 42, and that's basements and underground areas. Now, to clarify, the new build will add the capacity for up to 32 levels both below and above the surface in Project Zomboid, whereas formerly this was incredibly limited. The current plan is to allocate buildings that can have basements, and on each playthrough, these will be randomly allocated on game start. This means that with each playthrough, different houses may have basements, and others you've seen have one previously might not, or they'll have an entirely different basement setup to the last one you saw. The developers have also mentioned that they are hoping to add static, more expansive and non-variating basements to certain points of interest around the map. There has also been mention of super rare, extensive underground complexes. Although we have no further specifics here, it's safe to assume that there might be a military bunker or two, perhaps a sewer system, but ultimately all of this is speculation and we'll have to see what happens here. Atmospheric settings like these basements will no doubt be helped along by the new lighting propagation system coming to Build 42, focused on providing a much more believable lighting setup. The propagation system allows for light to leak through doorways and windows just like it would in real life, but also creating eerily dimly lit environments when used in settings that would be beneath the surface. The last blog we saw with some info on the new lighting system was on July 6th of 2023, in which they showed this footage, but mentioned that the finer points like field of view lines are still being tweaked and tested to find the right blend. Something like this, and I can speak from experience here, seeing my comments section for this particular blog, is hard to balance since everyone will have different ideas as to what's the perfect level of subtlety when it comes to the vision arc. Time will tell how this looks in the final version. To bring more life to characters in Build 42, we've seen some of the work Formosa UK has been doing towards giving our survivors a voice. Quite literally, in fact. Grunts, panting, sounds of exertion, and pain will all make their way into Build 42 thanks to some very talented voice actors. Just a reminder before I play some of this to you folks, that these snippets come from various stages of development and it's still a work in progress. The developers have recognized that the sounds are far too common at the moment, and this is to be dialed back for Build 42 itself. It was just to show the sounds to us whilst they were in testing. So, our characters will help make their struggles seem all the more real with their new sound effects, but that's not where things are stopping when it comes to audio in Build 42. We've also heard some improvements to the ambient soundscapes the game has to offer, especially when it comes to living out in the forest. We were shown this clip from one of the development blogs a little while back. Pay attention to how you can hear just about everything happening in this scene. Nothing is overpowered by anything else, which is tricky to do, to say the least. Lastly, the team have been working on an adaptive music system that will be headed for the game in Build 42. Currently, when entering combat of any magnitude, Project Zomboid will play an adaptive soundtrack that will adjust to the magnitude and scale of the fight you are currently in. With the new system, the devs hope to apply a similar function to non-combat actions like finding items, opening a locked door, or starting a car up. These are just some examples, but the idea is to bring a little bit more life to the game by linking sound and music to the player's actions. Take a listen to a couple of examples in this clip we were provided from a former development blog. Now, we've already seen earlier in this video that developers are bringing in new systems like hunting, tracking, and animal husbandry to the table in Build 42, and whilst not confirmed directly, it wouldn't surprise me at all if these became new skills for us to level. All that said, some of the existing skills of Project Zomboid are getting a significant revamp as well, not least of those being fishing. Aside from the fact that animations are getting redone for applying bait to fishing rods and similar actions, the act of fishing itself will be much more active than it is currently. Right now, fishing essentially entails standing still, casting in, and waiting. In Build 42, the minigame you're seeing on screen will be in place. This will require the player to be actively involved in the catching of fish, rather than being encouraged to go AFK or skip vast periods of time. A large amount of new fish are being added to the game with this revamp too, with a small list of fish we can expect to see in the major updates being posted with a previous dev blog. It's not just fishing that's seeing changes though. Farming will be following closely behind, with a variety of new plants, crops, and seeds headed our way for Build 42. We were shown a brief list of some of the new crops to expect shown on screen now. This will include a couple of herbs we'll now be able to tend to in our gardens to spruce up a meal. The whole farming system itself is being redesigned too, focused on providing an experience less embedded in menus and more interactable via simple key presses or clicks. New models and textures to reflect the various states of growth a plant can undergo are also being implemented to fill some of the gaps we currently have in game when crops are, for example, diseased or trampled. Seed packets will give the average Stardew Valley enthusiast some vital information in regards to farming too, such as a particular crop's ideal season for growth. Every crop will now have a season in which it will see better growth and better crop yields if tended to correctly. Growing times will be more realistic. However, it was mentioned that this can be disabled in the sandbox settings if players so desire it. Some more minor implementations for farming are also on the way, such as drying corn and peas to preserve them for planting in the following year. Potatoes can also be planted as an alternative to seeds to mimic reality. Last of the upcoming changes to farming, we're also expecting to see living house plants to look after and new pests to keep away from crops such as slugs and rabbits. Alright, so we've had a look at farming and fishing in terms of the changes to expect in Build 42, but there's a whole lot more coming than that for Project Zomboid when it comes to crafting. In fact, we're due to see an entire crafting overhaul in Build 42. This overhaul is aimed at the ultimate goal of providing alternatives to items that, right now at least, we can only find through looting. The changes and reworks that will come as part of this goal should help to provide more options for long-term survivalists that are pushing weeks, months, or even years into the apocalypse. We've seen various footage from across the dev blogs in the last couple of months, including some footage showing off a range of workbenches and crafting that will take place as part of some new pottery. We saw the use of kilns, glazing of jars, and more. On a more practical level, we've also seen the use of a forge, which implies we might see skills returning like blacksmithing anything in build 42, but to my knowledge we haven't had any confirmation there just yet. Even more recently, we've seen a demonstration showing off the use of component-based machinery. The developers did stress that this was just an example and not how it's going to look in the actual game, but the important thing to take away is that components such as sensors or speakers can be removed from machinery in the world and repurposed back at our safe houses for whatever we see fit. The goal is for currently inactive machinery in the world to be replaced with this now functional machinery, including stuff like vending machines, which again was shown off in a previous blog post in full working order. Currency goes into the input spot, the player selects the item they want, and the item is produced at the output component. Simple enough and a good display of how we can expect machinery to function. Now, definitely a more minor addition coming to build 42 than some of the stuff I've already covered in this video, but no doubt great news still for players that use high amounts of mods or modders themselves, is the improved sandbox and mod selection menus. The mod menu especially is going to be a nice one, allowing various filtering for easier selection of certain mods, as well as feeding back key information like the creator of the mod itself and any known conflicts with other mods. The sandbox menu appears simpler to use and understand in the new version, including a search function to look for specific items you might want to change for your next playthrough. Sticking with these slightly more minor implementations in build 42, an absolute plethora of new items have been shown off across the various blog posts since build 41. These include new wearable items and clothing such as World War II era military helmets, new holsters and carrier rigs coming to the game, and police enforcement clothing options for the avid post-apocalyptic peacekeeper. We've seen new camping related items that would be fantastic for nomad survivalists, including but not limited to tents, sleeping bags, baskets, and cooking equipment. Functional items like backpacks, tools, and equipment have also been revealed. Plenty of new sweet treats are on the way in build 42, of which we had a snippet of footage showing off the sheer volume we can expect here, and last but by certainly no means least, we were more recently shown the military containers coming with the next major update too. So there's a whole lot of new features coming to build 42 if all goes as planned, but as any good entertainer, I have left the best until last for this video, which is the significant performance improvements the developers are bringing to the table. This will be in the form of a new chunk caching system. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here, as this video has already proven to be a bit longer than I first anticipated when concepting the idea, but the important part of what you need to know is that the system has been tested internally by the team and the FPS improvements have been substantial, having so much as 300 to 500 FPS when zoomed out at maximum. Obviously, this isn't necessarily a guarantee that players will receive this same level of performance on their end when it gets to us, but it's a good sign that things will be significantly improved all the same. It's also worth a mention that multiplayer will be seeing some hefty performance improvements too, with any and all actions involving the player's inventory now being moved over to a server-side operation rather than the current client side. The developers believe this will bring significantly better performance to multiplayer environments. That's it from me in this video, folks. If you're looking for a bit more detail on some of the development news Project Zomboid has posted in the past, or would like to keep up with things going forward, I make a video every time a Thursdoid development post is made where I summarize all that new info. So subscribe to the channel if you're interested in all of that, and if there's any questions I can help with at all, feel free to drop them in the comments section. I will do my very best to answer as many as I can. Finally, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for backing the channel, helping me to do what I love most, and for joining me on our Patreon whitelisted Project Zomboid server, where we commission our own custom mods and do new setups every month. Thanks, folks, and I'll see you all in the next one.